Alrighty folks, you guys should be able to hear me. Radio check, radio check. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And welcome to the coverage to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We are 30 minutes away from the start of free practice 2. We've had quite the eventful free practice 1 with 3 red flags and quite a few yellow flags and double yellows from drivers going off, locking up, crashing, and all sorts. So yeah, I feel like this Grand Prix will be the one where we break the streak of 8 Grand Prix in a row without a safety car. I think that this Grand Prix will be the one where we have a couple of safety cars coming out, maybe even a red flag. And yeah, alright, we got 180 people tuned into the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so, and if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do that as well. You know, it's going to be the fairly standard FP2 live stream. Of course, last year, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix was a sprint weekend, but this weekend it is just the normal format, 3 practice sessions, qualifying and the race. We'll have commentary for free practice 3 tomorrow as well, and qualifying as standard. The data will be just the usual data with the team radio should be coming through on the right hand side of the screen. Okie dokes. Hello, Parsley Pallage, MCG, Screech, Lanibia 12, Lanibia 12. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. And well, we've got quite a few things to talk about. So Colapinto, he crashed in FP1, crashed at turn number 4 there on the exit. The rear of the car spun around. Alex Albon made a very he was about to make the very similar mistake, but then he decided to bail out and go into the runoff area. But yeah, Colapinto making that mistake at Baku. Of course, it is very tricky. It is only his second race in Formula 1. He's never raced. He hasn't had that much experience racing at Baku, if at all he's ever raced at Baku. I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, it's one of those circuits, narrow circuit, lots of room for error, and FP1 was especially low grip conditions, because I think it rained ever so slightly before FP1, so that made the track even less grippy than normal, and there was no rubbering in whatsoever. So yeah, Colapinto, the rear of the car spun around. He knocked the rear left part of the car. It seemed to be doing fine, like there didn't seem to be any sort of damage or anything bent, but the front left suspension, that was pretty badly damaged, and they will have repaired that in time for this session. Same can be said for Charles Leclerc. He was going into turn number 15. Turn number 15, very tricky corner. You have to make the corner, otherwise you're pointing straight at a wall, or you have to abort the corner and go into the runoff area. And you have a split second to make that decision, and Charles Leclerc unfortunately made that decision far too late, and into the barriers he went. He locked up. He looked like, I think he knew from the start that he wasn't going to make the corner, but he still tried to make it. And that error, cost him the rest of the running time in FP1. His car will also be repaired. It was not major damage, just the front wing and front right suspension for Charles Leclerc, and he should be good. All right. Do you like bananas? Yeah, in fact, I had a banana just before I started the stream. In fact, yeah, probably like 5 minutes ago. So yeah. All right. Is Ferrari slow? Well, no, I don't think Ferrari's slow. Their upgrade package at Monza, which was dubbed the Monza Special, worked out fantastically. Leclerc, of course, going on to win that Grand Prix. Maybe they did, on paper, was slightly slower than the McLarens. So Ferrari are quick. They're probably second quickest, probably not the fastest team on the grid. So, yeah, that's where Ferrari stand. All right, hey buddy, hey, yeah, Goat Naldo, nice to see you here. All right, I'm making their expectations as low as possible just in case they do a Canada. Well, yeah, I think Ferrari fans have had their fair share of, heartbreak and disappointment, and just totally being let down by the team. So, I wouldn't blame you for doing that, to be honest. Yeah, would not blame you whatsoever. Does Red Bull have Flexi-wings as well now? No, Red Bull does not have Flexi-wing. There has been quite a lot of talk. In fact, McLaren and Mercedes both do have sort of Flexi-wings, Flexi-floors. I don't know if it's Flexi-wings or Flexi-floors, but they do have some sort of car components that are Flexi. And I think it was 2021, Red Bull were suffering, there were rumours that they were breaking the regulations, but the FIA did their tests as normal and the deflection was as expected, within the regulations. And that's the same thing for McLaren and Mercedes. They have figured out a way to pass the FIA load tests. So, the FIA will apply 1,000 newtons of force onto the rear wing and it will deflect only 3 millimeters or something along those lines, right? Those numbers aren't correct. I've just made those numbers up on the spot, but you get the point. So the FIA do the tests and the McLaren and the Mercedes wings do pass the tests, but then once they get into race conditions, they do flex a lot more compared to all of the other teams. Now, is that a significant factor in them doing well? I think potentially, because I think so, because we saw porpoising be a very big issue, and the teams ideally want to run the car as low down to the ground as possible. And ideally what you want to happen is the higher and higher speed you go, you want to be closer and closer to the ground so you get more and more grip. And essentially what happens with these flexi wings and flexi floors and all of these other components, as you speed up, the load on the parts increase and then they start flexing more and more and then they get pushed towards the ground more and more. So that is probably a critical factor in why McLaren and Mercedes are doing quite well. Mercedes, in fact, they have reverted back to an older specification of their floors after they were suffering from some issues on their new floor. They've reverted back to an older spec, and yeah, I think they should. I think they'll refine a bit of their performance and a bit of their pace, because I think if you remember back, Mercedes were not too far off McLaren. Admittedly, McLaren did bring, I think, one upgrade package since Mercedes brought their upgrade package as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of a tough, I don't know, we'll just have to see, really. It's too hard to say because everyone is so close. If you guys remember back to qualifying at Monza, the closest top six in Formula One history, it was 0.18 seconds between the top six drivers, extremely close. And yeah, so I can't make any predictions, unfortunately. It's just too difficult. Has Red Bull brought anything new? Yes, they have. They have brought a quote-unquote radical new floor. So massive floor upgrades for Red Bull. Essentially, they're trying to solve their balance issues. Their issues look kind of resolved. Looking at the stability of the car from in the hands of Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, the car looked fairly stable. So yeah. All right, yeah, the car looked fairly stable, so they may have resolved some issues, but of course we'll never know until they go all the way into qualifying trim, take all of the fuel out of the car, and then really start attacking. So we'll wait and see. All right, let's see. I've missed a couple of messages in the chat. All right, what else have we got? More importantly, did they fix Colapinto's car? Indeed, they did. Oh, that was my phone vibrating there. Hello, Remy. Nice to see you here. Right. Has Zach started celebrating early? I think there's a long time to go before Zach starts celebrating. Yeah, he's still not in the lead of the World Constructors Championship, so they've still got time to go till they start leading that. And then I think they could potentially get the lead of the World Constructors Championship this weekend, because if McLaren are as strong as they were last weekend, then they have a great shot of outscoring Red Bull and going on to get those points. All right. Let's see now. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Let's have a look at the Constructors' standings. We've got 500 people tuned into the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in, folks. Yeah, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. All right, 20 minutes till we get underway. and let's have a look at the Constructors standings. We have got Red Bull on 446 points, McLaren on 438. The gap is only 6 points now. Oh, sorry, the gap is only 8 points now. And, well, I think, you know, if Norris finishes first, Verstappen finishes second, that will be 8 points that they'll gain from that, and that'll be enough for them to equal or go ahead. So McLaren seem to be in the lead, will probably have the lead of the Constructors by the end of this weekend, but the other factor is Ferrari are hot on their heels, and they're going to be looking to score a lot of points here. And McLaren do have to keep in mind here that if Ferrari end up being quicker than Red Bull, then McLaren will have to make sure both of their drivers finish ahead of both Ferrari drivers for the rest of the season. Otherwise, Ferrari could go on to win the Constructors' Championship. They aren't that many points behind McLaren. So if you look at it, Ferrari are 31 points behind McLaren, which isn't all that much in the grand scheme of things. You know, if Norris has one DNF or Piastri has one DNF and both Ferrari drivers finish every race to the end of the season, there is a very good chance that Ferrari could also win this championship, and well, very, very exciting, you know. They could close it up this weekend, especially given that it is Baku. I'm actually very surprised at Ferrari. Like, what you normally see in a Formula One car is either they're good at the high speed or they're good in the low speed, and it's very rare that you see a car that is very good at both of them. And Ferrari have somehow got a car that won in Monaco. They've got a car that won in Monza, which are the two most opposite circuits in terms of high speed and slow speed. And they haven't won any other race in between. So I don't know what to say. Like, will Ferrari be really quick at Singapore like they were in Monza, like they were in Monaco? Or will they just be in the middle of the pack again? It's hard to say. So yeah, I don't know. Ferrari, I would give them, I would say for probably have a good shot in Singapore as well, given that they have done well in street circuits this year. I think Singapore should be a good weekend for them. 2024 might be wild, but imagine 2025. Indeed. This is another thing that you do have to take into account here. We are 2/3 of the way through the season, and Red Bull are still bringing upgrade packages. McLaren, I think they still have more upgrade packages planned. And now you have to consider the distribution of resources. Now, McLaren, they will be, you know, they have a potential to win the World Drivers' Championship this year. And of course, we know the World Constructors' Championship is important, but the most prestigious, you know, thing is the World Drivers' Championship. And if they can win that with Lando Norris, then that would be enormous for them. But for them to do that, they would have to consistently bring upgrades every single weekend right to the end of 2024. And if they do that, then they could potentially compromise their 2025 season because they haven't started development early enough. So Red Bull, they have an upgrade package for this weekend. They have another upgrade package planned for the US Grand Prix, and then I think all of their resources are being shifted over to 2025. But if we see with McLaren, you know, if they're going all the way to the limit on trying to get this World Drivers' Championship, then they could spend all of their time developing the car for this year, and then next year they'll be absolutely nowhere. Well, I don't think absolutely nowhere would be the right way of describing it, but they'll probably go from first fastest to fourth fastest. So let's see. Gamer, more notably, I was referring to the matter that Red Bull and Max had a spree of wins at the start of 2024 that won't probably be in 2025. Oh yeah, in 2025 definitely, because Verstappen now is holding the lead of the championship purely due to the fact that he won 7 races in a row or 6 races in a row at the start of this season, and that's not going to happen. Or I don't think he won them in a row, but I think he won 6 races at the start of the season. And in 2025, that probably will not happen. Adrian Newey's left Red Bull. I don't know what they're going to cook up for 2025, but I don't think it will be as good as what Adrian Newey could have done. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what will happen. But yeah, I mean, I can't predict what's going to happen on Sunday, let alone predict what's going to happen in 2025. There are just far too many things that can happen, so many different possibilities. Norris didn't do his time on the mediums. Norris's fourth place lap time, that was done on a set of soft tyres. He just ended the session on a set of medium tyres, and that's why it says medium on the screen as of now. Can't they just copy from this year to next year? They can. They can copy from this year to next year, but the issue is that over the winter break, they will lose. All of the other teams will get quicker. They will have had like massive redesigns or like. So, for example, let's say Red Bull. They are probably going to have to redesign the way that they approach the floor, because as of now it seems to be very tricky to get a good balance of their car. So most likely for 2025 they're going to redesign the floor a little bit, and they can essentially start from scratch, or like not totally from scratch but halfway from scratch, and be able to explore a load of different possibilities to having a quick and a good floor. Whereas if you just leave things very, very late and you've only got 2 months or 3 months to develop your car at the end of in the winter break, then you could probably you wouldn't totally redesign your car, you would just add on extra upgrade packages. And that would give you less performance than totally redesigning your car, and less upgradability scope as well. Because if you redesign your car, you have a lot more scope to go push that forward with more upgrade packages. Whereas there's only so many upgrade packages you can start putting on your car before you start seeing diminishing returns from Formula One, from your upgrades. It's very, very complicated, to be honest. What gives me a glimmer of hope is that Newey will be allowed to work on the Aston upgrades, not the overall car design throughout 2025. Yeah, Newey, well, see, this is the thing. Newey, it will be starting, I saw in one of the announcements, Adrian Newey will start working on the 1st of March 2025 for Aston Martin. So in the 1st of March, that's around halfway through the season. Oh no, sorry, not halfway through the season. That's just at the start of the season in 2025. So Adrian Newey, he probably will have a bit of a say in the upgrade packages that Aston Martin have, which could cure their issues. Normally, we see Aston Martin start off the season fantastically, but as the season progresses, they get slower and slower, and their upgrade packages don't work. So Adrian Newey could help resolve those issues, but I do have a feeling that Lawrence Stroll will be his long-term aim is to get Adrian Newey to design the best 2026 car possible. So I have a feeling Adrian Newey will allocate most of his time, probably 85-90% of his time, to designing the 2026 car, and then he'll check over and just make sure the team is headed in the correct direction for the 2025 upgrades. Because Aston Martin are playing the long game. As you can hire Adrian Newey, but you want him to if you're giving Adrian Newey the best designer in Formula One, arguably complete control over your car, you might as well give him the new regulations to play with, rather than designing a car that's going to be scrapped at the end of the year. Integrating upgrades on an existing chassis is less efficient than creating a new chassis and everything you want in mind. Oh, that is a fantastic way of putting it, MCG. Yeah, honestly, my words were becoming a bit of a mess in my head, but that's a fantastic way of putting it. Integrating upgrades onto an already built chassis is there's a limit, and you can't really go that far, and they're less efficient. Whereas if you redesign your car, at least redesign parts of your car, then you can do everything that you want, and it's a lot more. It's easier. It's more efficient. You have more spare parts and all of these things. So, yeah. Newey will be just designing more cars for Lance to crash, except crash them faster. Well, some would say that. I don't know how long Lance Stroll will stick in the Aston Martin team. Of course, it is his dad's team. His dad considers, his dad probably wants his son to be a world champion. But, Fernando Alonso is his son's teammate. I don't know if that is really going to happen. Like, I would say that, Lawrence Stroll, he could give his son a championship-winning car and say, look, I've done my absolute best. Now it's your job to outperform Fernando Alonso, 2-time world champion, and go on and win that World Drivers' Championship. And that's your challenge. Like, so Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go about dealing with Lance Stroll. Or, you just get rid of him from the team and bring in Fernando Alonso, and you get you bring in Max Verstappen, and you get Verstappen versus Alonso battle for 2026 World Championship. Yeah, that would be pretty spectacular. Hey, can you put forward your opinion on this? How big of an abomination do you think the car will be if the engine from the Ferrari 2019 SF90 and the chassis from the 2020... well, honestly, the 2019 Ferrari, essentially, I don't know if you guys know, but Ferrari, they had a bit of a, behind the scenes, under the table deal with the FIA where they shook hands and they decided not to expose what Ferrari were doing in 2019. If you guys do remember, 2019 was when they modified the front wing regulations, so you had to have a much less complicated front wing. And Ferrari opted for a slightly more aerodynamic front wing. Mercedes opted for Ferrari opted for an aerodynamically efficient front wing, so it would be good in the high speed and the top speeds parts of the circuit, but slightly less good in the corners. Mercedes opted for the one that's good in the corners. And then you looked at the top speed data for Ferraris, and they were an absolute rocket ship in a straight line. Like, they were 10, 15 kilometers per hour quicker in a straight line, and that was without, that was with both of the drivers using DRS. And from what I've heard, or from what I've read, Ferrari were leaking on purpose. They were leaking parts of engine oil into the fuel cylinder, into the engine cylinders, so you would have the normal fuel and you would also have some extra oil, and so while you were leaking the extra oil into the engine, you would get extra power and extra top speed out of that, and extra horsepower essentially. And Ferrari were doing that in 2019, and they were just saying that, oh yeah, our front wing is just super efficient, and that's why we have the top speed boost. But in reality, they were burning oil in their engine rather than just burning fuel in their engine. And yeah, that car was a rocket ship in a straight line. And if you combine that with the 2020 Mercedes, or even the 2021 Mercedes, it was an absolute rocket ship. Yeah. Newey went there because of the money. He's worked with British teams. Even Red Bull is from the UK. Ferrari would be a big surprise, but he failed in 2 eras: Schumacher at Scuderia and later the Mercedes era. Well, yeah, Adrian Newey moving to Maranello would be a big ask. He is, of course, a British person, British, English, I don't know, but yeah. So I would say, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you go there for the money? I think Lewis Hamilton has potentially gone to Ferrari slightly for the prestige, slightly for the money. Would you blame him? I don't think so. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Right, let me get rid of the FP1 data. We'll have the FP2 data up on the screen. There we go. All right. Is Charles's car okay? Indeed, it is. Ferrari, the only thing Ferrari is burning is the drivers themselves. Yeah, well, I don't think Ferrari are burning the drivers. I think Mercedes are burning their drivers. Hamilton and Russell both were complaining last weekend about the seat being too hot. And Hamilton, once again, this weekend was complaining about the seat being too hot. So we'll see if they can fix that. Yeah, Red Bull have got upgrades. Indeed, they have. Red Bull have got a quote-unquote radical new floor, so we'll see if the radical new floor helps them out. In the preliminary, from what we saw in FP1, it seems to be better, but we'll never know until they start attacking flat out. Actually, I think they tricked the fuel flow sensors to allow more fuel than allowed. Oh yeah, that was another thing. So they might have been burning oil, or the other thing was the fuel. It was honestly, it's quite incredible. The fuel flow sensors check how much fuel is going through, going into the engine, like I think 1,000 times per second. Or 100 times per second. It was some certain rate. It was pretty quick, like 100 times or at least 1,000 times per second. But Ferrari, somehow what they'd managed to do is inject fuel into the engines in the tiny split seconds when the fuel flow sensor wasn't checking. Those were the two main things that I heard. It was either they were burning engine oil into, like, the lubrication oil in the cylinders itself to get some extra horsepower, or it was to or they were tricking the fuel flow sensor by injecting fuel in between the tiny split seconds between it was checking, like its polling rate, its checking rate. Yeah, it was, honestly, it's a masterful piece of engineering. Injecting slightly more fuel 1,000 times per second when the sensor isn't checking is incredible. The fact that they pulled that off is crazy, to be honest. Yeah. All right, can you fix the driver radio? The driver radio is fine. Once the drivers get out onto the circuit, then it will reset. Currently, the driver radio is from FP1. All right. Yeah, now they have 2 sensors at random frequencies. Yeah, that kind of confirms that Ferrari were messing around with the sensors and managing to inject fuel when the FIA weren't checking. What do you think about Daniel this weekend? Well, FP1 wasn't too surprising. Tsunoda didn't do anything. Daniel didn't do anything out of the ordinary. So, yeah, I think as long as Ricciardo can beat Tsunoda by 3-4 places, he'll seal the deal for his seat next year. But if he can't, then Liam Lawson will come knocking on the door, and I think Ricciardo will have to give way, unfortunately, because he's had his fair share of second chances. I mentioned this in FP1. He left Red Bull, went to Renault, couldn't perform at Renault, and then went to McLaren as a sort of a second chance. Couldn't perform really that well at McLaren, and then went to Racing Bulls as a third chance. And yeah, I mean, Ricciardo brings a lot of money to the sport. He brings a lot of sponsor money to the team. He is also a very quick driver, he's very good with PR, so there's a lot of things going for him, but there's only a limited amount of chances that you can get in Formula 1. We've seen this with Logan Sargent, we've seen this with Nick de Vries, Stoffel van Dorn, fantastic drivers, fantastically quick. They will go on to race in other series and win championships and win races, but there's a limited number of chances that you can get in Formula 1. I think Daniel Ricciardo may be coming to the end of those number of chances that he's got. Yeah, don't expect anything from VCARB. Honestly, yeah, VCARB I think they've been getting knocked out in Q1 quite often now. They haven't been doing all that great. So, we'll see. Can we please have a 0 okie dokie session? Well, I mean, okie dokie is just my catchphrase. Like, it is, it used to be so yeah. I used to say that quite a lot. I've reduced saying that, but now okie dokie and a quick sip of water. Those are my 2 catchphrases, I guess. We'll see. All right. At what point does Leclerc has a better chance than Norris? Well, I think you're talking about the championship. And if we look at the driver standings for the championship, Norris is 241 points, Leclerc is 217. I think with only 7 races left to go now, 7 or 8 races left to go, it is a little bit too far away for Charles Leclerc. He'd have to get massive strokes of luck, win 2 races in a row and both Verstappen and Norris get DNF'd. And that would play him into the mix, but otherwise it's going to be... And even then, even if he wins 2 races in a row and Verstappen and Norris DNF, it will be pretty tough to close the gap to Max Verstappen. So Leclerc, I think he is safely out of the championship fight for the win at least. He could probably hold on to 3rd place though. All right, Max needs to perform terribly. Well, still needs to... Yeah, Max still does... Well, if we look at the championship standings, right, it's 303 points for Max and 241 for Lando Norris. So Norris needs, I think, 64 points to equal Max Verstappen, and there are 7-8 races left, so he's going to have to... I think if Norris finishes first and Verstappen finishes second in every single Grand Prix, including the sprint races, then Norris will win the championship by like 2 points, but I don't think Norris has it in him to win every single race. With the competition being so fierce from his teammate from Mercedes and from Ferrari, it's very, very tough. If Ferrari and Mercedes were slightly further back, then the chances for Norris would be brilliant, because then he'd only have to compete against Oscar Piastri, his teammate, who he does have a slight edge over, and Max Verstappen, of course. But yeah, Norris winning every single race is quite unlikely. But Verstappen finishing second every single race is also equally unlikely. And well, that's the beauty of Formula One. I'm here to enjoy it. I'm not gonna, I'm not an oracle, or I've not got a magic ball telling me who's gonna win the championship. Because if I did, then I would have placed a bet on it. But honestly, I'm just gonna here for the championship fight because it has been fantastic so far. And yeah. I think Autosport said Lando had to outscore Verstappen by 8 points per Grand Prix to win. Yeah, so 8 points because it's 25 points for 25 points for first place and 18 points for second place. That's 7 points. And then if you include the sprint races, oh yeah, okay. So Norris, and then I think Verstappen would have to finish third in one race or something like that. But yeah, outscore by 8 points. That's a good way of putting it. Okay. Lando barely won his first race. Hamilton won 4 in 2007 and still lost. Yeah. I think if Norris wins the championship, it might be the lowest number of race wins. The lowest number of race wins and still winning the championship. I'm not sure exactly of that stat, but it might be close. Yeah. All right, we got 1,500 people tuned in. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. If you haven't subscribed, that would very much be appreciated as well. Hopefully we can hit 100,000 subscribers this weekend. We gained 4,000 subscribers last weekend, and we are 4,000 subscribers or 3,700 subscribers away from hitting 1,000 subscribers this weekend. So I think this weekend might be the one. Yeah, they said it was 7 point something, but rounded to 8. Yeah, I mean 8 should be close enough, really. If you can outscore Verstappen by 8 points every weekend, then fantastic job for Norris. He deserves the championship. But Red Bull aren't going to give up so easily. Their upgrade package seems to be working all right. So let's see. All right, we've got the drivers making their way out to the end of the pit lane. There we go. Verstappen already at the end of the queue. Not long now. All right. There we go. Green light at the end of the pit lane. Pit lane exit is open. Fantastic. Oh, you've got ads. Whoops. Let me just pause that. Yeah, you guys should not be getting any more adverts. Thank you for letting me know, buddy. Very much is appreciated. Just turning off the adverts because, why would any of you want to watch adverts when you can watch Formula One? All right. Norris has to improve to become a World Driver Championship. Yeah, I mean, the papaya rules thing has been very, very confusing. And, it's a very complicated and difficult subject to approach, really, because they are kind of asking Oscar Piastri to become a number 2 driver, and someone of Piastri's caliber should not be a number 2 driver. Like, Piastri has done, he's a fantastically great, fantastically quick driver. It's only his second season in Formula One, and he's doing a brilliant job. So yeah, he shouldn't be a number 2 driver, and neither is. I think there's been this quote flying around on social media a long time, well, not a long time, but since last weekend, and it's been saying, oh, they want Piastri to be a Bottas, but Lando Norris isn't a Lewis Hamilton. So if you look back to when Hamilton and Bottas were teammates, it was quite clear Bottas was the number 2 driver. He was, required to give Hamilton a tow on the circuits that needed a tow. He was required to let Hamilton by whenever the strategy said so, and but those are all fair things. But Lewis Hamilton is probably one of the greatest Formula One drivers in history, if not the greatest, and Lando Norris, at this current moment in time, it does not seem like he is of that caliber. So, yeah. All right. Hey, F1 Gamer, when you hit 100k subs, can you do a face reveal? It would be kind of cool. Well, I'm not going to be doing a face reveal at 100k subs, but I do have another sort of milestone, and it won't be 1 million subscribers. But I think I'll reveal it once we hit 100k, like what's the next thing for the channel, because I don't think 200k is really that likely, or hitting 1 million subscribers as well. But yeah, there is one other thing that I've got in mind, but I'm going to keep it a secret till we hit 100k, and then I'll sort of announce it. All right. Two number one drivers is a recipe for disaster. It creates too much friction. Yeah, this is, we've seen this time and time again. Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso. Who else? Which other great teammate rivalries have we had? Yeah, I mean, for Sebastian Vettel, Mark Webber, there's been quite a lot of... that being said, Mark Webber was later on in his career, or like at his time at Red Bull, it was confirmed that Webber was a number two driver. Like he would have that role, but at the start they were quote unquote two number one drivers, and it's a tricky thing to manage. And sometimes it's good. It pushes both drivers to the limit. And, you can have two number one drivers when you're not competing for race wins and podiums. You can definitely have two number one drivers. I think most teams sort of operate on that basis, like Gasly and Ocon. Neither of them really get priority over the other. If the strategy says that, this guy should be let past, then maybe they get it let past, maybe not. Or maybe they just race. Like, it's when you get right up to the top of the pack and the drivers start getting, of course, very... picky over, I want this win, I deserve this win, and all of these things, is when the two number one drivers creates a lot of friction. All right, will Ocon participate in the race? Yeah, Ocon will be taking part in the race. It will be Kevin Magnussen will be the driver who isn't taking part in the race. He has got a race ban, and Oliver Behrman is replacing him. We've got Tsunoda coming across the line, up into first place for him, and now we're going to have loads of drivers coming across. A 147 for Oliver Behrman. And yeah, Ocon... Ocon will be coming out, I think. Apparently a problem with the battery, but I don't think repairing the battery or replacing the battery should be too big of an issue, so they should send Ocon out soon enough. All right. Ooh, 2,000 people tuned into the live stream. Thank you everyone for tuning in, folks. Hope you guys are enjoying the coverage. Once again, just be sure to hit the like button. It massively helps out the channel. And let's carry on talking about what's going on. We got Leclerc and Sainz at the top of the timings, 145s from them. Everyone's slowly ramping up the pace, and look at that, the gap between the two Ferraris less than a tenth of a second. Brilliant. All right, who's got that fastest first sector? Sergio Perez, fastest first sector for him. Very, very nice. Perez backed out of that lap, I think. Perez was pretty quick, but then just as he came across the line, he backed out of the lap. He backed out of the lap in the middle sector, sorry. I think he made a mistake in the middle sector, I'm not sure. But, purple middle sector from Sergio Perez. But that does come with his issues, because you start overheating your tyres a little bit too early, and by the time you reach the middle sector, you're much more likely to make a mistake. All right. Oh, yeah, we've got loads of team radios coming through, and, when they say, look at this, it said Perez 5 to Charles Leclerc. That's essentially just saying Perez is 5 seconds behind you, and you've got to watch out. Currently on the screen, yeah, there you go. Perez is catching up to Leclerc now. So most of the team radio, at least for now, will be drivers just getting warned for traffic behind them. It's a very big issue at this circuit. Turn number 8 especially, the circuit is only 7.8 meters wide at turn number 8, which is the narrowest part on the entire Formula 1 calendar. So it's very, very... dealing with traffic going through turn number 8 is impossible. So the drivers ideally have to get out of the way either beforehand or afterwards, and they have to be very, very alert, because the racing line and the edge of the circuit aren't all that far away from each other. Yeah. All right. What else have we got going on? Look at that. Perez is on a hot lap, and it's purple in the first sector, purple in the second sector, top of the timings, and he goes ahead of Verstappen by a second. Interesting. How has Perez done that? I have no idea. But he's quicker than Verstappen by 1 full second. Incredible. Yeah, I mean, if Red Bull have suddenly fixed all of their issues, then the championship fight will be totally out the window, but we will not know if they fixed all their issues until qualifying rolls around tomorrow. So let's wait and see. All right. Yeah. What else? Who else have we got? Everyone's out on a set of medium tyres. Only Hamilton is out on a set of hards. Apart from that, everyone else is on mediums, doing some quick laps, interestingly. I wouldn't have expected quick laps from medium runners, but here you go. Okie dokes. What else have we got going on? Ooh, Lando Norris had a bit of an off-track excursion at turn number 16, bouncing over those curbs. It's a bit of a tricky corner, to be honest. The curbs are a bit of a... Well, they're not at an awkward angle. It's just if you're going too quickly, it's a bit hard to avoid them. And... yeah, nice little bounce there for Lando Norris. No sort of damage coming off the car, though, thankfully, for him. And continues making his way around the circuit. Okay, Tsunoda up into third position, nice and quick there from Yuki Tsunoda. And, a double yellow flag. Who is causing that? Where even is the double yellow flag? Oh, no, it's been cleared. Someone was going slowly, I think turn number 15. Yeah, not 100% sure. But yeah, double yellow, someone had an issue. But it's been resolved so quickly that it's not even been shown on TV. Right. Let's see, what else have we got going on here? 2,600 people tuned in. Very much is appreciated, folks. Thank you very much for hitting the like button and subscribing. Alright, F1 Gamer, it wasn't going slow. It was the Saubers going all out and attempting to overtake a bicycle. Yeah, that seems just about accurate. In fact, Valtteri Bottas was driving around the Baku circuit yesterday. I think he did 5 laps of the Baku circuit on his road bike. Bottas has got quite into road bike racing. I think he's done a few gravel bike races and quite a few races on his road bike as well. I think his girlfriend is a professional cyclist. Yeah. So talking of bicycles, Bottas is nice and quick on a bike. But the Sauber, unfortunately, not too quick at the Baku Street Circuit. Yeah, swear to God, if Perez wins this last year, so let him cook. Yeah, Perez is pretty good at street circuits. He did win in 2023, and... let's wait and see what he can do. I mean, I don't know where he pulls out this pace from, because all year long, he's absolutely nowhere compared to Max Verstappen, and now we're here in Baku, and Verstappen looks like he's absolutely nowhere compared to Sergio Perez. So, let's see what Sergio Perez can pull out this weekend. Alright, what happened to Leclerc? No, nothing much. I mean, Leclerc's just come into the pits. He hasn't had any sort of damage, I don't think. Unless I've missed anything, I don't think Leclerc had damage. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Lewis Hamilton up into second position. Nicely done from him. He's done that on a set of hard tyres as well. And once again, purple in the final sector. 327 through the speed traps. Oh, that's definitely a toe. Yeah, definitely got a toe going down the back straight there for Lewis Hamilton. Otherwise, 327 is not really reachable in the downforce levels that Lewis Hamilton is running. Looks like he got a toe off. I think it was Behrman. Not sure who. But yeah, Hamilton purple in that third sector. He went... I think it was, if you compare it to FP1 times, he's 0.5 of a second quicker than Verstappen. Yeah, he's 0.5 of a second quicker than Verstappen in the final sector. With toe assistance, and Hamilton is also running quite low downforce compared to everyone else. All right. Oh yeah. By the way, guys, Esteban Ocon's car is back out onto the circuit. So he did have some sort of battery issue that has now been resolved, and he is, yeah, he's back out onto the track. Oh, they've got Hamilton once again complaining over the radio, saying my seat is so hot. Don't know what's going on at Mercedes and how the seat is overheating. Because I would have, this issue must have. How has this issue only started halfway through the season? Like, you don't upgrade your seat. Like, the seat stays the same throughout the year. So how suddenly has now the seat started overheating halfway through the season? Like, admittedly, it is quite hot, 29 degrees in Baku, and in Monza as well, it was quite hot. But the drivers didn't complain. Well, they didn't complain in Qatar because of it was a night race, but I'm not sure. Oh, we've got yellow flags deployed. Oh, Verstappen there's yellow flags. Double yellows are being waved, and Verstappen has he just gone off into the runoff or signed to cross the line? First place for him. Is Verstappen moving once again? Yes, he is. Okay, it looks like Verstappen just went off into the runoff area. He has not crashed. Looking at his car, everything seems to be intact. Verstappen just went off into the runoff at turn number 6, maybe. We'll have to get a bit of a replay. They couldn't complain in Qatar because everyone was dying in that race. Yeah, Qatar was very bad for the drivers. I don't know how they're going to deal with it this year because the cars will be faster, the G-loads, the G-forces will be higher. Verstappen, he stopped around 50 centimetres away from the barriers there. He got quite lucky and managed to just unlock the wheels and stop just before the barriers. Had to reverse out though to ensure that he did not damage the car. All right. Yeah, the Qatar. I mean, honestly, I think the FIA are going to have to sort of step in. Maybe for 2026, they're going to have to say a minimum like water bottle of 2 liters or something for the drivers, because the drivers, they say they lose 3-4 kilograms of sweat. And 3-4 kilograms of sweat is essentially 3-4 kilograms of water. So ideally, the drivers should have a 2-liter water bottle in their car so they can drink from that. Because right now, I think it's only 700 ml, and it's quite. Oh, Zhou's off into the runoff area. That's a yellow flag again. He missed the braking zone at turn number 3. Went straight on, reversed out of it, and he is now fine. Yeah, the fronts didn't bite for Max Verstappen, and it looks like the same happened for Guan Yu Zhou. DRS has been re-enabled, the green flag's back out. Yeah. All right. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I think the FIA should step in and say the drivers should have a minimum of 2 litres of water, or at least a water bottle that is 2 litres big, and it should be filled up at the start of each race. Is there rain? No, it is nice and sunny out there in Baku. In fact, it's going to be sunny all weekend long. And yeah. What happened to Russell? I don't know. He's just sat in the pits. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is. I'll have a look. But yeah, it's been 15 minutes. He hasn't come out of the circuit yet. Come out onto the circuit. Yeah. Interesting. Is there a current regulation on water bottles? I think there is, but it's only 700 milliliters of water. I'm not 100% sure how much it is. I think it's 700 mil, but if the drivers say, which they do, the drivers do lose 4 or 5 kilograms at Singapore Grand Prix. At Qatar, they'll be losing similar amounts, if not more. I don't think 700 mil is really cutting it. Like, the drivers, I think in 2026 is a great time to bring in the regulations. The car's being totally redesigned. You can't have the teams complaining, saying, oh, there's no space, oh, there's no this, there's no that. They're designing the car from scratch again. So yeah, I think 2-liter water bottle should be good. Yeah, only 700 mil. Maybe it's 1.5. Well, I don't know. It's 1.5 liters. Okay. For Qatar, the safety car should throw some ice cubes at the drivers. Yeah, I think it was Fernando Alonso in Qatar. He was asking the mechanics to throw some water on him, like, because it was so hot. Like, when he was coming into the pits, he was saying, can you throw some water onto me? And the mechanics weren't allowed to do that, because, you know, if they throw, say, a litre of water onto Fernando Alonso, that makes him a kilogram heavier, which is fine. Like, I'm sure the team is fine with him being a kilogram heavier, but then you could get away, like, you could run your entire car 10 kilograms lighter and then dump 10 kilograms onto Fernando Alonso in a pit stop and get away with that, because it would still be in the car by the end of the race. So there is, you know, that's why the rule says you're not allowed to, you know, throw water onto a driver halfway through a race. But yeah, even then, 1.5 litres, if it's 1.5 litres, it's still not enough. And yeah, they can increase the weight. They've increased the weight limit for the drivers, which is good. You know, it ensures the drivers don't have to diet all the time. But yeah, some more water would really help out. Hello, Kimber and Nathan, nice to see you here. I'll be tuning in, I think, for a NASCAR live stream if the time zones align. But yeah, good to see you here, buddy. All right. It's actually insane that they only get 1.5 litres of water in the car. They lose so much water. Yeah, 2 litres per workout. Yeah, I regularly drink like 3-4 litres. I mean, I make sure that I always have a water bottle next to me. So, all right. We are 20 minutes into the practice session, 40 minutes remain. We've only got 4 drivers out onto the circuit. Zhou's coming into the pits, Tsunoda's coming out of the pits. Colapinto's just lapping around, getting some more confidence in the car in these narrow streets at Baku, so we'll see what he can do. But yeah, he's on a long run, I think, on a set of medium tyres. Look at those lap times, 1 minute 12. I think he must have been a slow lap then. Cue some chatter asking about, can you say a bottle of water? Yeah, bottle of water, as some people would say. All right. What's the fastest time in FP1? I think it was the 145s, something in the 145s for Max Verstappen. So now we've dipped down into the 144s. The circuit has been rubbered in a little bit more. The Formula 2 cars were having their qualifying session in between FP1 and FP2. So yeah, the Formula 2 cars have been driving around depositing some rubber on the circuit. So the circuit's getting slowly but surely more rubbered in. And by the time we roll around to quali, track evolution won't be that key. Won't be, you know, that significant. I think the toe, which would be much more significant. All right. All right, let's have a look at that. Pierre Gasly, they've come over the radio to Pierre Gasly saying, can we work the surface of the tyre? So there are quite a few. It's actually interesting. We'll talk a little bit about the tires then. Of course, there are tire blankets that the teams keep the tires in for the majority of the weekend to ensure they're up to temperature, and there is the inner core of the tire, and there is the outer surface of the tire. So if you see the drivers sliding around, that's going to heat up the surface of the tyre quite significantly, and then that's going to sort of radiate inwards and heat up the core of the tyre as well. Ideally, what the drivers want to do is have, quite at the start of a hot lap, what they want is a hot core tyre. Like the inner bit of the tyre does want to be hot. And the outer surface would like to be slightly under temperature. In fact, they would probably want both of the things slightly under temperature, because as they go through the hot lap, the surface is heating up, and so is the core. So they want the core slightly under temperature and the surface also slightly under temperature. And the way that you heat up the core of the tyre is either, of course, heating up the surface and letting it slowly radiate inwards, or you slam on the brakes. The brakes are, of course, they go up to 1,000 degrees Celsius, 1,200 degrees Celsius, and they heat up the tyres from the inside. So you see this in when the drivers are behind safety cars. I think in 2021 it was, Lewis Hamilton had a magic switch, it was like quote unquote magic button, and what that does is it shifts the brake balance 70% to the front. So when Hamilton slams onto the brakes heat up super quickly, and then what they do, of course the brakes get up to temperature, but more importantly, the inner core of the tyre, that gets really warmed up from all of the excessive heat in the brakes. So yeah, it's quite interesting how the teams, of course, they'll be using brake ducts to cool down the brakes, but they also kind of use, they kind of radiate that heat away into the tyres as well to make sure that they can maintain temperature. Right, yeah, the Qatar race is at night, so it is cooler at night, but still it's very, very hot nonetheless. Qatar is a desert. Yeah. If the core is nice and warm, its flexibility ensures there's less friction in between the outer layer and the core, leading to less wear. Wow, yeah, I mean, MCG, honestly, you've got a way of putting things that, honestly, I can't think of. Yeah, very much is appreciated. The core is nice and warm. There's flexibility. That is one of the, that's one other thing in the tyres. You know, you wouldn't expect a tyre to be that flexible, but when you watch the slow-mos and the drivers bouncing over the curbs, the tyres look almost like they're liquid. So, yeah, no, the tyres are very, very flexible, and they, of course, stick to the road as much as they possibly can. I can't imagine they race in Qatar or Bahrain in daylight. I think the first Bahrain race was in the daylight, but then after that they switched it to under the floodlights. All right. Charles's car is bent somewhere. He pitted for that, apparently. Okay. Well, I guess that might explain Charles Leclerc being sat in the pits for a while, and I still haven't figured out why George Russell is in the pits. I've had a look a little bit. Yeah. Oh, it's a precautionary power unit change. That's what they've been doing for George Russell. It's, of course, you know, Monza and Baku, two circuits that are very demanding on the power unit. So apparently they are doing a precautionary power unit change. So probably after Monza, you know, they've done a load of running on the power unit and they've worn it out quite a fair amount. So they're just changing out the engine just to be sure that, you know, they don't get a DNF halfway through the race. Of course, Russell has had his fair share of bad luck at Silverstone when he was leading. Or I think he was in the net lead of the race. He had he had a water leak failure or something, water failure. Ooh, that's not worked out well for Lando Norris. He's just been blocked there by, I don't know which driver it is, but he's just been blocked quite badly. And that's going to ruin his lap. And he got blocked at the highest speed part of the circuit, turn number 18, 19, and that's where he gets blocked. Oh, Verstappen, a quarter of a second up in the first sector. Wow, nicely done there from Verstappen. We saw this in FP1. Verstappen was super quick in the first sector, super quick in the second sector, but then lost all of that time through the third sector because he had just had too much downforce on the car. So let's wait and see. Yeah, Norris's final sector time was compromised. He had to back out of that. Sainz now coming across the line. It's 320. Oh, he activates DRS and goes up to 337 kilometers per hour as he comes across the start-finish line for Carlos Sainz. And a 143.9. For him, Verstappen now, he's 4/10 up on the first two sectors. Now the question remains is, will he lose all of that time in the final sector because he's got too much downforce on that car? So here he comes through turn number 20. He goes, and DRS is activated. Flap is wide open now, and he's approaching speeds of 330, not 337 like Carlos Sainz, and unfortunately it's only second place for him. Look at that look at the third sector time there. Max Verstappen is half a second slower in the final sector alone. That is enormous, absolutely enormous. Just in the final sector, which is a 2 kilometer long straight essentially, Verstappen loses half a second. I don't know if he was activated DRS on that occasion. Maybe he didn't, but that could explain things actually. Verstappen didn't activate DRS because his speed trap speed's 312. We'll see. Let me have a look. Hamilton Hamilton now, he is on a hot lap, currently in 8th position. And Verstappen, Verstappen was just so much slower through the speed traps, 8 kilometers an hour slower through the speed traps. Don't know what is going on there. Behrman is up into 5th. I'd throw a word of caution into the air. I'd say Behrman's probably on a lot less fuel than everyone else, but nonetheless a good lap. I think he bent his car from the crash in FP1. That could be an explanation. Of course, turn number 15 is fairly high speed. And if you don't, remove enough speed just before you hit the barriers, then your chassis will take the brunt of the impact and potentially could bend. So we'll see. Piastri across the line, 2nd place for him. Good job there. And he's 33 milliseconds off Carlos Sainz. Oh, no. Oh, whoops. Sorry. Apologies for that. I was holding my mic far too close to my face. But Gasly's got a problem with the battery as well. Ocon had the problem in FP1. Gasly's just come over the radio saying he's got a problem with the battery. I don't know if they can resolve it on the fly, but no, Gasly's into the pits. So, yeah. They definitely can't resolve it on the fly. And now they're going to spend the rest of FP2 repairing the battery for Pierre Gasly. And the problem with the battery is, because batteries are quite heavy, ideally what the teams want to do is put them as low to the ground as possible. And to put them as low to the ground as possible, they have to remove a whole bunch of components before they can actually get access to the battery. So I don't think Pierre Gasly will be taking part in the rest of this session. George Russell is finally out. They have changed out his power unit, and he's good to go for the remainder of FP2. Colapinto's car looked pretty smashed, just as seen from the highlights of FP1. Yeah, Colapinto did have... Colapinto did have a pretty big shunt. The car did bounce, though. That's the thing. Colapinto's car bounced off the barriers, whereas Charles Leclerc's car just embedded itself within the barriers, which I think has a bit of a difference in how the loads are on the chassis. Because I think if you just embed yourself within the barriers, your chassis takes quite a lot of the load, whereas if you just bounce off the barriers, I think the barriers also take a bit of an impact, and you take a bit of an impact, but it's, I think, a little bit more spread out. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me, but I think that's why Colapinto might have got away with it. Yeah, Charles is bad luck after the win, just like post-Monaco, indeed. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Ferrari get a double DNF. It would just be Ferrari's luck, to have a great upgrade package, do fantastic in Monza, and then also do great in... And then, do great in quali, and then get knocked out and DNF in the race. All right, Verstappen coming over the radio saying that he's having issues with visibility. The sun is getting in his eyes. It looks like they've got the wrong visor on Max Verstappen's car, on Max Verstappen's helmet. Sorry. So let's see. They'll probably come into the pits and change that out soon enough. But yeah, Verstappen's dealing with it for now. All right, folks. If you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It very much would help out the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We are halfway through the FP2 session. We've got nearly 500 likes. And if you haven't subscribed as well, folks, be sure to do that. Hopefully we can hit 100k this weekend. It would be pretty spectacular. We are, 3.5k away, 3,551 subscribers away. We did gain that many subscribers in last weekend. In the Monza Grand Prix. So hopefully we can get that this weekend as well. All right, Angel Johnson. Hi guys, I'm in school. Well, honestly, appreciate the commitment. It's Friday afternoon. I don't know where you are in the world, but it's Friday, and nobody really pays attention on Friday in school, so fair enough. I've watched my fair share of Formula One in school as well, so here we are. Strolls across the line in 4th place, but as a adult, actually, oh my god, I'm an adult. I would suggest that you pay attention in school. All right. At work, yeah. Well, why not? I've watched a few of your streams during my uni lectures. Yeah. Um, yeah, that being said, when I didn't stream free practice sessions and I had uni on Friday, I would always have the free practice up during my university lectures, because why wouldn't you? It's important. You got to watch the Formula One. All right. Yeah, the sudden realization that you're a legal adult hits hard. Indeed, it does. Yeah. All right. We have got uh, nearly all of the drivers out on the circuit. We've got, I think, only 5 drivers in the pits: Sonoda, Alonso, Albon, Bottas, and Norris. Oh, Gasly's back out of the pits. Surprising. So Gasly had some sort of battery issue, but they've managed to fix it much quicker than they fixed Ocon's, or maybe they knew what to do after Ocon's broke, and then they figured it out and got Gasly out really, really quickly. So nicely done from the Alpine team. Yeah. Why is Charles out? Well, I guess I don't know if it was a bent chassis or not. That's what some people were saying in the chat, but maybe they figured out that it wasn't bent after all and it was some other issue. Or maybe they were just checking out the car, making sure that it wasn't bent, and now that they know it isn't bent, they've sent him out again. I don't know why, but I have a feeling Ricciardo will be getting dropped. Yeah, it's not looking all too good for Daniel Ricciardo. Ooh, yellow flag, double yellow. What is that for? Who's going slowly now? No, is that Leclerc crashed at turn 8? Oh, Leclerc nearly crashed at turn 8. It was so close. He nearly had an I am stupid moment. If you guys remember 2019 Leclerc in Baku, he crashed into the barriers at turn number 8 and said, I am stupid. And he was 2 meters away from doing that all over again. So, yeah, very close there for Charles Leclerc. All right. Um, there's been a lot of yellow flags in Formula 1. Is it teasing a Logan Sargent return? Maybe. I mean, we've had 3 red flags in FP1, a bunch of yellow flags in FP2. Let's see. Honestly, the thing is, the corners at Baku, because it's quite a new circuit, they don't have names. So you could name turn number 8 the stupid corner, and people would actually call it that. Yeah. How do you stream every race regardless of what time zone? Well, because I live in the UK, most of the races, they are in, an all right time zone for me. But some of the races aren't. Like, I think Australia are like quite early in the morning for me, and the Japanese Grand Prix as well. But how do I do it? I mean, I like watching Formula 1. I was probably going to watch the race anyway, so I just get up and commentate, When I'm at university, I'm not too loud, so I don't wake up my roommates. But yeah, it's I just set an alarm, wake up, and start commentating. Why is Russell not out? Yeah, Russell is out. Russell's out there, and look at that, turn number 6. George Russell is there. Perez won in Azerbaijan 2023. Indeed, he did. Sergio Perez, I was going to say the GOAT himself, but I wouldn't say Sergio Perez is the GOAT. But he's the king of the streets at Baku. Won in 2023. He's currently top of the timings, half a second ahead of his teammate, 4/10 of a second, 4/10 of a second quicker than the competition. Absolute beast, Sergio Perez, and we'll see what he can do. Yeah, we'll see what he can do this weekend. Maybe, out-qualifies Max, goes on to win the race, secures Red Bull the World Constructors Championship. If Red Bull can recover, Colapinto had a bit of a shunt at the I am stupid corner. In fact, that's what I'm going to call it from now on, because I think everyone will get the reference. But Colapinto tapped the rear of the car at turn number 8. He got away with it. It was a slight impact, which once again he bounced off the barriers, so not too big of an impact there. And Colapinto just got away with it. and one of the Ferraris exiting turn number 1, they have also got very sideways and sort of just power slided their way out of the corner and managed to not hit the curb, managed to not hit the barriers there. All right, what else have we got going? The start straight T1 should be called Human Error Straight. Now it should be called Magic Corner. That's what turn 1 should be called. After Lewis Hamilton going straight on at turn number 1 in 2021. From 2019, of course, Leclerc crashing at turn number 8. So that's the I am stupid corner. We should come up with some more. Actually, that's actually a pretty good idea of stuff to do in free practice sessions, because let's be real, there isn't all that much action going on. All the drivers now, they're just doing their opening stint runs by the looks of it. Actually, most of them are in the pits. But, Verstappen, 4 centimetres away from the wall at turn number 2. So really pushing the car there. So yeah, I think in free practice sessions, at circuits where they don't already have names for corners, I think coming up with names for corners, fantastic, ideas. Alright, just watch the 2023 highlights. Perez clipped the wall, didn't crash while in the lead. Both Stroll and De Vries clipped the wall. Guess it's a tradition. Yeah, quite a few drivers have done that, and you can get away with it. So let's see. We'll see how much the drivers can actually get away with, because the rear suspension does tend to be a lot stronger than the front suspension, because the front suspension also has to deal with steering, and I think that because you have an extra axis of movement there, it gives a lot more. Well, there's a lot more ability for you to just damage the car and damage the steering, and if you can't steer the car, then you might as well retire. So yeah, you can get away with tapping the rear of the car. We've seen that at Singapore as well. The drivers just kiss the barriers. And in fact, sometimes it's slightly quicker to do that. But yeah, touching the fronts is a big no-no, for sure. That's what I was referring to as well. Some say Hamilton was meaning it. Oh, the human error. Okay, right, I see what you mean. If turn 8 is a stupid corner, turn 9 must be the smart corner if you survive turn 8. Oh, that is a... Yeah, oh... You know how we say, we've just gone through maggots and Beckett's? It's like, just gone through stupid and smart. That is fantastic. All right, has Leclerc done a push lap? Well, looking that Leclerc's in 14th position, sorry. I don't think he's done a push lap. I think he's just doing some long runs on a set of medium tyres. Watch Hamilton of 338 through sector 3 without a tow. Yeah, I know, I saw Hamilton 338. He did that with DRS. But yeah, no tow for Lewis Hamilton. I don't know why the Red Bulls are so much slower down the straights. Maybe they've turned down their engines. I'm not 100% sure. Merc also have turned down their engines a little bit. I think it might be a Red Bull, because you've got to take into account here that Max Verstappen, if he goes on, if he wants to win this championship, he has got no margin of error. Given the fact that McLaren are doing very, very well now, if Max Verstappen gets a single DNF towards the end of the season, that is going to throw a massive spanner into the works in terms of him potentially winning that championship. For example, let's just consider Norris is in the lead of this race and Verstappen is in 3rd place. He would have scored 15 points by finishing in 3rd position, but if he gets a DNF, that's 15 points out the window. Norris gains 25 points on his lead, and yeah, the chances of Verstappen winning get significantly lower. So maybe, I think Red Bull are just doing this as a precaution in the practice sessions. They're turning down their engines a lot more than they normally would, because they just have to ensure the fact that they do not get a DNF whatsoever. Yeah, the engines are most likely not turned up to race spec, but I think that Red Bull have probably turned them down even more than they normally do, just to reduce the wear on the engine. So yeah. Well, that implies that Max DNF and Lando win, which is a big if together. It is, but I don't think it's totally I don't think it's something that is totally off the cards. And I think even if Norris finishes in second place or third place, gaining 15 points on Verstappen's championship lead when he only needs 8 points per race is pretty significant. So yeah, that's I think that's why they're just taking these precautionary measures, because you'd rather, if Verstappen gets a DNF and say they could have protected him from that DNF by just turning down the engine mode in practice sessions, then they will have, they'll look back in that in hindsight and be like, this was a stupid thing to do. Why did we not turn down the engine? So yeah, if Max gets one DNF, it is game on. And yeah, the championship can be thrown wide open. So let's see. Oscar's going to be asked to give up a 20-second lead to let Norris through. Honestly, yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, because there have been some people that are saying, like, maybe Mark Webber's negotiated a contract for Oscar Piastri, saying that he has to be a number one driver. There are some people saying that Mark Webber's negotiated a contract saying that Piastri will not give up a race win. If Piastri's in second place, he'll give up second place for Lando Norris, but he won't give up a race win. It is, yeah, I don't know. We don't know the details of the contract, and we never will. Well, maybe we will, 10 years down the line. Piastri, someone will ask him and he can tell them, because the NDA will have expired. But, yeah. All right. Yeah, and that also includes Lando being mistakeless until the end of the season, if that's it's possible, but unlikely altogether. Yeah, it is. There are a whole bunch of factors that they're going to require for Lando Norris to win this championship. But this is the thing. Currently, as it stands, I would say, well, I'm not going to say any specific numbers. Well, actually, to best portray my point, I'm going to say probably the chances of Norris winning this championship as of now probably stand around 5%. And things will have to go his way. But Red Bull are going to do absolutely everything in their capacity to make sure it stays at 5%, and if not, goes lower. So, and yeah, McLaren will be trying their absolute best to increase that probability. But yeah, Red Bull, last year they had nothing to worry about. It was basically sealed, like 99% chance that Verstappen would win the championship. They had nothing to worry about. But now it's been thrown open a little bit, and they do have to take these precautions. Yeah, the Red Bull's going to lose their title. Yeah, it's Red Bull's title to lose. That's a good way to put it. All right, Russell may be on hards because they want to save the medium set for the race. Yeah. Well, yeah, that might be the case, but normally they have two sets of hard tyres, so Russell's probably using one of them, and then he will be I guess they're just thinking that they're going to need two sets of mediums for the race, or maybe three sets of, because my internet just dropped out for a split second there and it's back. Oh, thank God. Apologies, folks. Yeah, my internet, I'm plugged into Ethernet, but my internet's cut out for a split second, and now it's back. Hopefully we get no more of those issues. All right. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, what are your opinions on Adrian Newey joining Aston Martin? Do you think that 2026 we're going to have Fernando Alonso World Championship? Are we going to see Lance Stroll World Championship 2026? Will Aston Martin win? I'm not sure. Yeah. Right. Who's top of the timing? Still Sergio Perez. He's top of the timings. I think Hamilton is out on a set of softs. Yeah. Russell, he has done he's done a run on hard tyres. Yeah, that should be fine for Russell, to be honest. Okie dokes. Subbed, you are very chill. Thank you very much. Zero Nula. It is still cutting out. I think it should be fine. I've got no messages from OBS saying it's cutting out, so yeah, it's back. There we go. Right. To be honest, I would like another Fernando Alonso World Championship. Yeah, it would be spectacular. Ooh, what a lap from Charles Leclerc. 6 milliseconds ahead of Sergio Perez. Very, very tight there. And he's done that on a set of soft tyres as well. So Perez, he did his lap on softs. But Charles Leclerc just beating out Sergio Perez by the finest of margins. He purple in the first sector for him, and then slower in the second and third sectors compared to Perez, I think. But fantastically close, and this is just practice, folks. I mean, I cannot wait to find out what's going to happen in the race, but this should be brilliant. Maybe Charles Leclerc's back, but maybe Charles Leclerc is just giving Ferrari fans false hope, and then they're going to have a Ferrari double DNF in the race. Who knows? Let's see. Personally, I think the limited tyre rule should be removed. Yes, no, and why? Hello, Stefan. Nice to see you here. The limited tyre rule should be removed. Well, I think the issue with removing the limited tyre rule is that the teams would request for infinite sets of tyres, and they would just, every single time they would go out on a fresh set. So we've got a yellow flag. One of the Ferraris, Carlos Sainz, is gone wider. It's gone onto the runoff at turn number 7, but he's fine now. What was I saying? Oh yeah, unlimited tyres. So the limit is there essentially just to prevent the teams from going overboard with using loads of sets of tyres. But then of course if you reduce the limit too far, then it becomes very strategic, like, oh, we're going to use this tyres for this purpose and this tyres for this purpose, and these are saved for the race, etc., etc. So yeah, there's got to be a limit. I think the tyres at this current moment in time, they're using them all right. Like, there's a slight element of strategy. Sometimes drivers are compromised because they don't have 2 sets of hard tyres for the race, and suddenly on the Sunday it's super hot and they do need 2 sets of hard tyres. But yeah, that is sometimes it's just unpredictable, and the teams, and after all, it is the team's decision. They have to predict the weather from 3 months out by looking at historical data, and they have to make a prediction saying, oh, it's not going to be all that hot, so we can get away with sets of medium tyres rather than a bunch of hards. Yeah. F1 gamer, stop saying double DNF for Ferrari or jinx it. You're usually we're usually depressed as it is. Well, yeah, I guess maybe not. Maybe I'll do the reverse commentator's curse. I'll say it twice and it doesn't happen. But we're having a look at the race pace here. Oscar Piastri, a 148.8 on medium tyres. Sergio Perez, a 148.9. Max Verstappen, a 149.6 on medium tyres. And Lando Norris, a 149.6 on medium tyres. So Piastri and Perez matching are fairly similar to each other, and we have got Verstappen and Norris identical to each other but slower than their teammates, which is not something you see each time, because normally Verstappen's quicker than Perez and normally Norris is quicker than Piastri. I think previous 6 races in a row, Norris has out-qualified Piastri, so yeah, Norris does normally have the upper hand by a fraction of a tenth in quali. When it comes to race day, it's usually fairly equal between the two teammates. But race pace as of now, Piastri looks to be quicker, and Piastri looks to be quicker than his teammate, and Perez looks to be quicker than his teammate. I don't think Norris is sandbagging per se. Maybe Norris is on slightly different fuel load. Maybe Perez is on slightly different fuel load. It's you can't really predict these kind of things. Like, the teams are doing their own run plans. So, and for us, it's very complicated to work out what fuel loads are on, if nearly impossible. But for the teams, they know that, oh no, we've added an extra 10 kilos of fuel into Lando's car, so we'll take away 0.3 per lap, and the lap times will match up. So it's just the way things goes. We don't have access to all of the data. I think back in when refueling was a thing, I think you could see how much fuel the drivers had in their car, because the fuel sensors were linked to the FIA, and they would get all the data and stuff. But as of now, we don't get to see how much fuel's in the car. All right, what happened to Norris? Please tell. Norris hasn't done a quick lap. He has just been lapping around doing long runs. He's finally come into the pits, put on a set of soft tyres, and he's now currently on an out lap. So, yeah. Leclerc's come over the radio saying Lewis didn't see me. Lewis Hamilton just coming out of the pits. Leclerc coming towards turn number 2. Lewis Hamilton wasn't looking in his mirrors, I think. It is just the way things goes. It is Baku. In practice, there's not going to be any sort of penalty for that, but come qualifying, Hamilton may have found himself with a 3-place grid penalty. Ooh, another yellow flag has been deployed. Who is that for? DRS disabled in zone 1. Who's that? It's Stroll. It's one of... Oh, I don't know who it was, but it's either Russell, Alonso, Stroll, or Zhou. I'm going to have to get a replay to figure out which one it was. Oh, it was Zhou. I think it was Zhou. Bottas has gone straight on at turn number 1. Double yellow for him. He's flipped the car, not spun the car around, sorry, and he's back out onto the circuit. Right, Bottas is fine now. So that yellow flag's been cleared up. I don't know who caused the earlier one, but so many yellow flags. Wow. All right. Oh, was it Stroll? Okay, brilliant. Well, it's probably, can I say that I'm surprised that Stroll caused the yellow flag? Probably not. Yeah. All right. We've hit 600 likes. Thank you everyone for hitting the like button, folks. And very much is appreciated. Hopefully we can hit 800 then. Why not? Keep on going up. Why not? All right. Very much is appreciated though. We've got 3,500 people tuned in. That is fantastic. Hope you guys are enjoying the coverage, by the way. And be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Right. It's a good FP2 considering no red flags. Yeah, there probably aren't any red flags. So, well, there haven't been any red flags so far. We'll see if there's another one. There's only 5 minutes left of the session though, so it should be fine. All right. What else have we got going on now? Everyone's just coming out. Look at that. Most drivers on used sets of medium tires. They've all done their long runs. They're still doing their long runs. Norris, in fact, he's on a used set of soft tyres. He's also doing a long run. I think they're trying to simulate what would it be like starting the race on a set of soft tyres. Of course, we do know Norris hasn't had the best race starts, but if he does have the soft tyres, that will give him an advantage over everyone else at the race starts, and maybe he could use that to retain the lead at the front. But that, of course, comes with the challenge of managing those soft tyres as your first stint. If you start the race on the mediums, there's not too much managing to be done. So, yeah. Watching a stream on my app at 5%. Happy for Checo. Hope he ends FP2 like this. Yeah, it'll be good. Only second place. Only 6 milliseconds behind Charles Leclerc. I'm too broke to watch this live, so F1 Gaming is my saviour. Thank you very much. All right. They don't have any red flags left. Sergeant took them away. Yeah. Right. The Sergeant slander's got to stop at some point. He's not even here anymore. How is Hamilton P3 on hards? Hamilton, the lap that he set that got him in 3rd position, he did that on the set of soft tyres. He hasn't done that on a set of hard tyres. He's currently out on a set of hard tyres. It's a little bit confusing, but it's just the way the data is. Haven't managed to sort anything else out. All right. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remain of this practice session. We've got Ollie Behrman. Oh, look at that. They've told Ollie Behrman to go into mode F2. Mode F2. Bit of a surprise. A little bit ironic there for Oliver Behrman, but Behrman's done a good job, honestly. No sort of issues like Colapinto. Hasn't hit the barriers, hasn't touched the wall or anything. And it hasn't locked up and gone straight on. So he's been doing quite well, has Oliver Behrman, which is good job from him. So it's a tough circuit. He did the same thing at Saudi Arabia. Very tough circuit to have your first Formula One race at, let alone with only 40 minutes of practice. But yeah, Behrman managed to race in that Grand Prix. Did a fantastic job, and once again here he is at another street circuit, a very narrow street circuit, and he's done so far in the first 2 practice sessions. So we'll see what he can do. Yeah, he didn't do a Kimi Antonelli. So, yeah, nice job from Ollie Behrman. F1 Gamer, people said Baku is one of Behrman's best tracks. He's had a decent amount of wins at Baku. Well, that probably explains it. I think in Formula 2 he must have done quite well at Baku. Maybe even won it last year, I'm not sure. So, yeah, maybe Ollie Behrman is on the cards to go score some points. Maybe he'll even compete alongside Nico Hülkenberg. That would be fantastic, though. If Oliver Behrman, on his second Formula 1 Grand Prix, after not even taking part in the rest of this season, can get close to Nico Hülkenberg, then it'll be a job well done. And really, he's already got a contract signed, but it proves his worthiness in the sport. So, yeah. K-Man got too many penalties, and because of that, he ended up with a race ban. Alright, what else have we got going on here? K-Mag was too entertaining, so he got banned. Yeah, K-Mag, honestly, K-Mag did have a couple of moments where I think he probably did deserve a penalty, to be fair. He was, outright just blocking everyone, trying to build a gap so Hülkenberg could go on and score some points. Fair team game. He's done a fantastic job defending. But, some of his defenses were slightly questionable. And that penalty, I don't know if it a race ban worthy. I don't think it was race ban worthy, but because it's quite weird. In fact, it's actually quite interesting how, say in a sport like football or cricket, they have a designated set of umpires or a designated set of referees that oversee the sport. And it's the same with rugby. Any sort of professional sport, they have, these limited number of people that have been specially trained on all of the scenarios and everything, and they're the people that will decide things. Whereas the stewards are given, they're just random people that have a slight history in motorsport, and they're given a rule book to just follow. I think it would be much better if Formula 1 sort of adopted a system that football have, where they just train referees and they sort of, put them through the ranks at karting and then at Formula 2 and at WEC and all of these things. And then these stewards just, they are the people that decide who gets penalty points, how much penalties are awarded, rather than following a rule book, because the rule book cannot cover all of the nuances and the slight edge cases and all of these different things that happen in a race. Like, you've got to take into account maybe someone's in wet conditions. You can have someone slide off into the circuit and crash into another driver. Is that on purpose? Is that not? Do they deserve a 5-second time penalty? So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. But we'll see what the FIA does. But here we are at the end of FP2. Another yellow flag has been deployed. But that's, I think it's Stroll is going slowly. In fact, might have had a bit of an issue there. But thank you everyone for tuning in, folks. It's very much been appreciated. I hope you have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on where you are in the world. And I will be commentating FP3 tomorrow, so what I'm going to do is end the stream. It'll take you over to the FP3 stream. If you could hit the like button on that, that would massively be appreciated. It just helps out the channel and boosts the stream, and it tells YouTube, it's like, oh my god, this is an amazing live stream, and recommends it to all the Formula 1 fans. So yeah, I'm just going to end the live stream now, and it'll take you over to the FP3 live stream. So if you could hit the like button, that would very much be appreciated. But thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure commentating to you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow for FP3 and qualifying, which I can tell you for a fact it's going to be super, super close. All right. Cheers, fellas.